Hey there, this is Ryan Nickel from Bootstrap REI, and I'm going to share with you driving for dollars. This is how I went from one deal every 2 to 3 months to doing 2 to 3 deals every single month. Now, here it is. You have to learn how to be a real estate investor. This is me with Matt Theriault, and I love this quote from him. He says, if you can't find deals, you're not an investor. You're a buyer, and a buyer buys while an investor profits. And I want you to be an investor because I want you to be able to profit and not just be out there buying these deals. I want you to invest in these properties. So who am I? Well, I'm a family man. This is my wife and my beautiful children. I also have a podcast, Bootstrap Real Estate Investor, and I'm also a best-selling author. I wrote this book back in 2014, and I was got it published, and then it went best-selling author for like a minute in June. So there you go. Here's a street cred right there. I'm a best-selling author. But before all this, this is my house. This is in 2010. I lost my property to foreclosure. This was one of the hardest things that had ever happened to me. You see, at this point, I had been recently remarried, and we have at this point, we had a 12-month-old daughter. She just barely turned a year old. And this was Christmas in 2010. And my wife came to me, and she's like, look, what are we going to do with this house? Or what are we going to do? And I said, honey, I think we're going to lose this property. She's like, I didn't sign up for this. This is not what I wanted to have happen in my life. And we had just moved from California to Idaho because this is where this house was located. That year was so poor that my wife, she said, look, you know what? I am not going to let my daughter not have a Christmas this year. I said, honey, I can't even afford a tree. The neighbors aren't willing to go out and cut one down for me, so this is what we're going to have to do. She's like, no, this is what I'm going to have to do. And it was a real low point for me. So she actually cut out of construction paper a Christmas tree, taped it to the wall, and then the 2 presents that we had for our daughter, because we couldn't even afford presents for each other, she put that on the tree. Or underneath the tree. And that was my Christmas. But the day after Christmas, we lost this house. And it was a low mark for me. I felt like such a loser of a man. I had to move we moved back to California, moved in with my in-laws, and kind of rebuild there. So as I've rebuilt myself, I got a job. And here we go. Lost my job in 2014. So 4 years after I lost my house, I lost my job. Here's a social media post that my wife put. We lost an important part of our family last week, Ryan's job. Again, I got smacked between the teeth here, and I'm struggling. I'm struggling as a man. I'm struggling. How am I going to be able to support my family? How am I going to be able to support my wife and those beautiful kids that you saw? Not only did I lose my house once, I might even lose it again here. And at this point, we were renting. We didn't own a property. And I thought I had been through it all. I thought that I was done. My wife says, you need to figure something out. And I said, okay, I think I have an idea of what I can do to help our family. This is how scared I was. I didn't know what I could do to support my family, so I went to the government and said, look, man, I have these beautiful kids, I have this wife, I need a job, I need money, I need food, I need something. And so we went on welfare, and we were on food stamps. And my wife, she came to me, she says, look, this isn't working. Weren't you once in real estate? I said, of course I was. She's like, get back on it then. I'm like, honey, don't you remember what happened in 2010? We lost our house. I don't want that to happen again. That was painful. That hurt real bad, and I never want to go back there again. She's like, Ryan, what is happening to our family right now is painful, and it is hurting real bad. If you have anything that you know how to do with real estate that can help drag us out of this hole, out of this pit, I need you to go and find it. And I didn't know. But I went ahead and I said, you know what, Tahoe, guess what? I buy houses any condition, any price. Now you have to keep in mind here, I'm broke. I am on the verge of being homeless, and I have no money. And this is what I am, and yet I'm going to go out and buy these houses. Well, as luck would have it, or actually as fate would have it, or as hard work would have it, this is what happened. So as you can see here, this is back in September 2014. I go out and I bust my butt. And this is my very first deal. It took me from start to finish, this particular deal took me 3 weeks, and with no money, no credit, no banks, in South Carolina, of all places where this property is located, I received my very first check for $20,000. Now, I lost my job in August, decided to become a real estate investor in September, and here we are in December, just 4 short months later with $20,000. Now, that wasn't the end of the story. That was just the beginning of the story. I thought, I have made it, I'm a real estate investor, I can go home to my family, and hallelujah, I can now look my wife in the eye and tell her that I can provide for the family. Well, that wasn't the case because it took me another 4.5 months to get my next deal. And after that, it took me another 3 months to get my next deal. And I was struggling. I was these highs and these lows, these peaks and these valleys, these hits and these misses, trying to figure out how I could make this thing happen in real estate. And it wasn't until I realized that there's this thing called driving for dollars. Well, what is driving for dollars? That is when you're looking for houses that have a high probability of selling that currently are not on the market. It's a quick way to make a few dollars in real estate. Now, I wish I would have known this when I first got started because I probably would have made a lot more money and it would have been a lot less scarier because I wouldn't have had all these highs and lows and rat holing the money on the side, making sure that I had enough for a rainy day in case things just fell through. So these are some of the best practices I'm going to share with you. You want to drive the same route. You want to keep a pen and paper with you at all times in your car. You want to track your miles for tax purposes, of course. And then also you want to keep track of the types of properties. Now, why is that important? Well, let's go over the types of properties that are out there. I call them A's and B's. Now, I didn't invent this myself. I got this from a guy named Sean Flanagan. I don't know the guy, but if I did meet him in person, I probably would buy him a drink because I learned a lot from him. So Sean Flanagan talks about A's and B's, and now I'm going to talk to you about A's and B's as well. These are abandoned properties and beater houses. So these are my A's, my abandons. These are my B's, my beaters. Why? Well, you need to know your market. I don't want you to be a lazy marketer. I want you to match your message to your market. You're going to market to your abandoned property owners a lot different than you are to your beater property owners. They have different motivations, different reasons for their properties being the way that they are. So you need to be able to match that message to that market. So what do you look for? Well, I look for rent signs. Handwritten ones. This means that this is a person who actually is a landlord who has his property and does not go through a property management company. So when I'm driving for dollars, this is what I look for. Handwritten for rent signs. Of course, for sale by owners. I look for handwritten for sale by owner signs as well. I look for signs in the window. Now, this is a particular home here. You can see there's a lot of things going on with this house here. You got fallen tree limbs. You have a wheelchair access. There's a little pieces of paper inside the window there. This lets you know that this house has been secured by the lender. So this is a home that, interestingly enough, it is not in foreclosure, or excuse me, it has not been foreclosed by the bank, but the bank has secured the property, but it is in pre-foreclosure status, which means that it's still an opportunity to move on. Now, I do not run on foreclosed properties. If they get repossessed by the bank, it's not something I'm going to go ahead and do. But if they're still in that process, I'm going to try to track down this owner and see what I can do to work with this property. But again, signs in the window. No mailbox. See that? Behind the padlock gate there's the mailbox just thrown over that fence there. If they're not receiving mail, chances are the house is vacant. Multiple broken cars. There's even a broken lawnmower there. So this is a sign for me that I'm going to go ahead and mark this down as either abandoned or a beater property. Wheelchair access ramps. This house is definitely a beater property. Look at that roof. You got a lot of mold going on there. You got the swamp cooler that's all taped up on the roof there. This is definitely someone that is elderly, that has some kind of physical impairment. That means that they're not going to be able to take care of their property as much as someone that didn't have the same ailments as they did. I look for roof damage. This is during a rainstorm, and you can see here this thing is completely tarped from one side all the way to the other. Neglected roofs. This one here, I think, is self-explanatory. Driving around the neighborhood, you can see these roofs. They have multiple layers of roofs on top of another roof, on top of another roof, and then the wind is just blowing them off. This is definitely a home that has some neglect. Even the siding, the paint that's starting to peel off of this asbestos. Hoarder properties. Oh my gosh. This house, this is the front door of the house. You can see there's a picture of the roof right there. This is the gate that they can get in, but they got a cargo container chock full of stuff here. This is definitely some kind of, there's going to be a lot of work done on this property. So definitely hoarder properties. Old vehicles. This is a old Buick or Plymouth or something. And even I think this is original covering for this car. It's so threadbare and just worn out here. But I look for old vehicles because that means this person is elderly. And if it's an elderly person, yeah, they might take care of the lawn, or they might have some kind of maybe a grandson or some kind of yard person that takes care of the lawn. But I guarantee you the house is either dated or it has some kind of neglect or deferred maintenance on the property. You can see there at one time there was either a basketball hoop there on the garage there, above the garage door or something. But when it got painted, it was there, but now it's not there anymore. So this is definitely a tall tale sign for me to go ahead and look at this one here as a beater property. Boarded up, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. The shopping cart, I think, really gives it away here that this house is definitely abandoned. Maybe even has some kind of vagrants or somebody living inside the house, maybe doing drugs or something like that, vandals, whatever it might be. You have some squatters. Something's going on in this property here. Overgrown vegetation. Another sign that this house is either currently being neglected or on its way of being completely abandoned and forgotten about. So I'm going to share a few with you, and I want you to decide here. So this particular house here, what would you say this is the problem with this house? It's definitely that the grass is overgrown. In fact, this is a property that I purchased a couple of years back, and I said that I snapped this picture and sent it to the owner and said, "Hey, is this your house?" If so, I'm interested in buying it. He actually said, whoa, I haven't seen that house in about 8 years. Thanks for showing me a picture of what it looks like. And I wrote him back. By the way, this was all through postcards. And then he called me and he said, yes, I'm actually interested in selling. What can we do? And we actually tied it up and we purchased this property. Here's another one that I purchased. You can definitely see this house here as it has been abandoned. I contacted him, again, snapped a picture of the property. This is what I do. I snap a picture of the property and I send that picture to the owner. And I asked them, hey, you're not interested in selling this house, are you? And they always call back. They don't always do that, but for the most part, they give me a call back. So this one particularly, he lived over, he lived about 4.5 hours away, wasn't able to make it over here to do the repairs. His son lived in the area, but he was too busy, couldn't do any of the repairs, and so the home has just sat there and sat there and sat there. And when I came to him, I said, hey, look, I'll make you an offer. Let's make this thing work, and we were able to do that. Of course, what is this one? This is obviously driving for around, you see a for rent sign. This particular home here is not quite as easy to see. You got cracks in the driveway, you have a service vehicle, you have grass growing on the roof, you have a chimney that has been once removed, and it's just a lot of minor things that have caused me to think that there's a lot going on here. You got the broken fence post. There's just a lot going on this property. Lets me know that this is, one, a rental, and two, it's been neglected. Here, this particular property is there's some roof damage. There's some missing shingles. There's some moss growing on the roof. This is definitely a house that has been neglected as far as maintenance goes for quite some time. This house actually I found in foreclosure. This was in a pre-foreclosure, and I drove by to take a look at it. This is a rental, of course, and you got some roof issues going on here. It's just a lot of deferred maintenance on this particular property as well. This one I think is pretty obvious. This is definitely a deferred property as well. This is actually an abandoned property. You got grass growing on the roof here. I mean, it's pretty tremendous how much grass is actually growing on that roof. This house has been boarded up several times. This is why you want to drive your neighborhoods multiple times. Become very familiar with your neighborhoods. This house has been boarded up, broken into, boarded up again, and then broken into a third time or a second time. And it's had some serious issues as far as squatters being, breaking into this property, living in it, vandalizing it, doing whatever they're going to do inside that property. Again, another vacant property. Roof damage here. Now, not only is there roof damage, I also look at, okay, this person has roof damage, they're driving an old car, but they also have jet skis in the property. So tells me that they spend a lot of their money outside of their house. And so when you're driving, you see a house that has an RV, has multiple cars, has toys, things like that, ATVs, boats, things like that, and the house is in disrepair. It lets me know that they either have mismanagement of funds or that they're not able to keep up on things, and they have multiple people that are living there that are helping to subside with the rent payments. So here we go. This is the house I showed you earlier with the multiple cars on here. So I drove this neighborhood and I saw all the cars that are outside there, and I thought, you know what, this house actually must be abandoned. I came back around during trash day. Now that's a good key indication, is to go on trash days and see exactly which homes have the trash cans pulled out and which ones don't. If the trash cans are not pulled out, then it's definitely a possibility that the person or that home is vacant. Well, having driven this day, I actually saw that the trash can was out, and I'm like, oh, you know what? Huh, clever. I wonder if the neighbors actually pulled this out just to deter anyone from being snoopy or snooping around or getting nosy about this property being vacant. So I actually pulled over my car, opened up the trash can, and sure enough, there was actually trash in there, and recent trash. So actually, someone is actually living in this property here. So it's just a rundown piece of property. So it's definitely something that I have on my radar and that I'm actually mailing to. Again, for rent, handwritten sign. Now this one here, the yard definitely is a huge giveaway. The siding and the roof, you got the shingles on the side, or not the roof, but the siding, these shingles here. Now here's the thing about this neighborhood. This is in a very, very, very high-end, well-to-do neighborhood in Sacramento. This is an eyesore. They are perfectly manicured lawns in this particular. This is an area where they have homes, little 2-bedroom homes that go for $600,000, and you have 3 or 4-bedroom homes that go for close to $1 million. So this particular home here, the way that it is, definitely is an eyesore. It lets me know that there's someone here that is really having a hard time. Either is elderly and has not the desire to keep up on the property, or they're having a real hard time keeping up on the maintenance of this particular property. Here's another one. This one isn't quite so as obvious, but what I figured here is, if you look at the driveway and the debris, and then also this RV, you have a tarped over RV that's not going anywhere. There's grass growing up all around it. But you also have these front porch steps and the garage door. You have a lot of the dirt and the debris on the garage door that's kind of built up on it. This house has not been used in a long time. The walkways are not swept, they're not clean. Even if someone doesn't sweep them, the path of people driving their cars, moving back and forth, it creates friction. It cleans the stuff out. Even when people are walking, their shoes, it creates a pathway that you can see here is it's not there. So this house is either it's a shut-in, or it's someone that is not living there right now. This one, I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. I'm not really quite sure what this one is. Smile, you're on camera. I don't know why you would put that. I don't even see where the cameras would be at. But anyway, this house definitely has some issues. This one here, overgrown vegetation. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but there are multiple mailboxes. There's one, two, and then like a little newspaper cubby for it. So this is definitely something that caught my eye when I was driving the neighborhood. Now here's another one. Where's the driveway and where's the garage? So you can see here there's a car that's like, where the lawn should be is actually another driveway for this other vehicle that's kind of just, a little beat up little pickup truck. But also there's a blue tarp on the roof there. So you can see that there is some roof issues going on as well. They're missing a hubcap on that car. Normally I wouldn't be nitpicky on a hubcap, but when you look at the house, you look at this beat up pickup truck, you see the hubcap's missing. You can see, okay, this person definitely is having some kind of financial distress, some kind of challenges where they're not able to maintain and upkeep their belongings and their things. Okay, this one here. Now what you can't see is next to this Lexus, on the left-hand side are actually 3 more cars, and then you have here this this Ford little truck. What this actually is, this van, this is actually a limo van. It was like an 18 or a 19 or even a 20-passenger limo van. It was long. It was huge. It went like all the way down the entire front of the house here. Now here's the thing about this particular house. I'm looking at all these vehicles. I see there's some roof damage here, and this tells me that this person here more than likely has roommates. That the house is become unaffordable for them, and they have multiple people living there to help subsidize or offset the actual monthly payment so that they can keep the house. So this one here lets me know that there's some kind of distress going on. This house here is pretty obvious. You got some overgrown grass. This house here, oh gosh, where do I begin? This house is definitely an abandoned property. Another abandoned property. Again, you can see the tree, the leaves, everything is how it's just built up against the garage door. Same with all the front porch. This house is definitely abandoned. No one is living there. Another property that has a light on midday, and you got the grass growing, real overgrown grass everywhere. Another obviously abandoned property. It's all boarded up. Here's another property that has been vacant for some time here. In fact, you can actually see that this is a property in South Carolina, by the way. You can see here that you start to see the moss start to grow up, little mildew growing up on the side of the doors and the side there. If someone lives in the property, almost everybody owns or knows someone who does own a pressure washer. And if you start to see that moss creep up on the side and it hasn't been removed, because that's something they do like at least once a month, if not every 2 months, it's also a sign that this person, that no one lives there right now, that this home is currently vacant. Here's another property. Now this is an interesting one. I actually thought this property was vacant because of all the grass, just the disrepair of the property and everything. And then one day in driving by, I noticed that someone had actually mowed this property, but they didn't mow the entire property. They just mowed from the driveway over to the front of the house. You can see this little walkway that had been kind of mowed down so someone can walk to the front door and walk back to the car without having to get, bushwhacked here with all these weeds. So this let me know that actually someone is living here in this property, but this definitely is a property that is in serious disrepair. It definitely needs some TLC. This guy, even though there's a mailbox, it's definitely a vacant property. This beauty here. I drove this property, and now I drove this property probably about 8-9 months ago, and that was what the roof looked like today, or then. Now this tarp has completely covered that garage, so now not only is the entire house tarped, but now the entire house and garage has been tarped. So whatever damage there was in the property is now transferred over into that garage. So this house is definitely occupied. It's an elderly person who has no desire to move right now, but it's something that I am definitely watching and keeping track of, because maybe there is a situation where things become unbearable and they do need to move, and we'll be able to help them in that situation and also be able to acquire this property. So can you do this yourself? Well, of course you can. You can get out there and drive around for dollars, and in fact, I want you to be able to do that. There's no reason why you should not be doing that. But what about partnering? I get that question a lot. A lot of people ask me, hey, how do I partner with you? How do I do these deals with you? You know what? I want you to be able to do the work, but I'll do some of the work as well. And this is exactly how you can partner with me if you so choose to do. You can do it yourself. There's contracts, there's mailing pieces, there's tracking spreadsheets, there's all of that stuff that's perfectly available for you to do. You can buy mine for $97. I'll give you my contracts, my mail pieces, my tracking spreadsheets, and I'll give you also a half-an-hour coaching session to get you started in the direction that you need to go. But this is exactly how we actually partner. So if you give me a name and a phone number or an address, I'll pay you $500 for that. If you want to give me a warm handoff, someone that you know personally, and we're able to go into contract here, I'll pay you 25%. If you already are in contract on a property and you're looking for a buyer, someone to take over that property for you, or to buy from you, I'll partner with you 50-50. Now, how does this partnering actually work? Like, for example, if you just give me a phone number, I'm not going to pay you $500. Now, if you just give me a phone number and I close that deal, I'm not going to pay you $500 either, because you're not a licensed real estate agent. I can't pay you money for that. I can't give you a quote-unquote commission because you're not licensed. But what I will do is I will joint venture with you. And the way it works is you give me a name, you give me a phone number or an address. I will go ahead on that particular property. We will joint venture that when I close on this property, I will give you $500 from the proceeds because we've now partnered on this property. Same thing goes for a warm handoff. You introduce me to somebody and we close on this property, we're going to be in a joint venture agreement that I will give you 25% of all proceeds that we make. Same thing on a contract in hand looking for a buyer. If you already have a contract in hand but you don't have the cash buyer, we'll go ahead and joint venture on this one and I'll give you 50%. So how do you go ahead and contact me? You can reach out to Ryan@TroubleSellingYourHouse.com or give me a call. I answer my phone all the time. 530-755-7552. This is Ryan Nickel from Bootstrap Real Estate Investor, and this is how I went specifically from going one property every 2 to 3 months to closing 2 to 3 properties every single month. Now I want you to be able to do the same thing.